My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless. This is what's coming up.
I remember there was a time someone came to me working at the same place, and we were talking because I wanted to do my degree. I was just talking about the goals that I want to have. And this person was like, okay, I'm gonna teach you. He told me that you need to be close to someone. And he was giving me example. You see, that person is close to this person. This person is close to this person. You can always go around and they will teach you. So you can come. I can teach you. And I said, okay, cool. I was so happy. And then the next day during lunch, he says, yeah, why don't we go to my car? And I said, no, I don't want to go to your car. We can actually do it over here. And he said, why don't you want to go to the car? Come. And I said, no. Do you know, after that day, that guy never talked to me again.
That is part 2 of Ella's story. We're going to jump into it a little later in this episode. But welcome. If you're an OG member, I've got nothing but love for you. If you're a newbie, you have just discovered us, welcome. It's never too late to join the family. We have so much going on here at Legally Clueless Africa. Okay, so on Mondays, this show goes out where different Africans, primarily African women, come on and share stories from their lived experience. That's Mondays. On Wednesdays, we have the Midweek Teas, where I unpack different topics that I think can be very helpful for you on your healing journey as an African woman. On Wednesdays, our newsletter goes out as well, so make sure you subscribe for it on the homepage of our website. Link is in the show notes. On Thursdays, we have For Mannerless Women, our youngest show, where different women come on and give you the inspiration, the expertise to be mannerless, which means you defining womanhood for yourself. Season 6 has officially started. Our first episode of the season is now up on our YouTube channel, which is where the episodes go out first, and then a week later they go out on our audio platforms. And we kick things off with the incredible Kaz Lucas. I mean, I love that episode. Kaz and I had such a beautiful conversation about entering your 40s, the expectations we have on the different decades of our lives, what happens when your life looks nothing like you thought it would, and the freedom that can come from letting go of that timeline altogether. I'm 37 and I am so thankful that I took the leap to define womanhood for myself, because I feel the most free I have ever felt now at 37. Freer than when I was 30, freer than when I was 28. That's when I got married. Freer than when I was, 25, 23, 22. Oh my God. So if you've ever looked at your life and thought, wait, I thought I should have done this, that, or the other by now, I really want you to watch that conversation. The link is in the show notes. Go watch episode 1 of season 6 of For Mannerless Women. And make sure you subscribe on our YouTube and even where you're listening to this on, so that you don't miss out on any of our super awesome shows. Okay, let's get into today's story. Last week, we met Ella. We heard about her childhood, moving between different family environments, and how she learned to become different versions of herself depending on the space she was in. Then we went into aviation, from studying to internships and then working in like aircraft maintenance, where, oh my goodness, it just still hurts me that women have to or still experience sexual harassment, honestly. Sexual harassment at the workplace. It's across the board in different industries, but in male-dominated spaces like aviation and aircraft maintenance, it's sickening. In part 2, we really hear what those experiences eventually cost her. Here you go.
100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
I changed companies later on. I stayed home again because you're always told to leave. So you have to go. It's not your company. So you're stressed out again because you don't know where your next internship will go. And you need to be, there's this thing they say, if you leave aviation, that's it. So I was so scared of that. I was like, if I leave, what happens? So what was happening in the aviation industry, even with women, there weren't so many women in the industry. I remember when I went to the Air Kenya, the first time I was the only one. Then I left. When I went back again, I found some other lady, and then I could see people. But there's not lots of ladies in the industry. So that's what gave me the idea of starting the organization, which was the Association of Women in Aviation Maintenance. So it is an international organization. It's based in the US. I didn't want to start from scratch. I was like, if they can allow me to start something here, it also gives me an upper hand with international people, you know. This organization just brings women together. They give them scholarships, the international one. But now the Kenyan one, I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, am we going to do the same thing? Remember, I asked one of my friends, could we start this? They're like, yeah, okay. But then I didn't feel like she really wanted to do it. So I approached someone else who I wasn't even talking to, who's my friend right now, and I asked her, they need like some names. I have this idea. I want to do this and this in the aviation industry. Are you in? And she said, yeah. I said, cool. That was the beginning of our friendship. But she later on left. So I call it AWAM. So I still had AWAM Kenya at the back of my mind. I just didn't know what to do with it or with these women or provide what. So I went to another company, internship again. I really didn't like that company. The sexual harassment there was actually the worst. I remember there's a day that I was talking to some guys over there and I told them, I'm going to take you to the HR. And they were laughing and they told me, when you go to the HR, we will actually tell the HR that you're the one who was swinging your hips when you were walking past us. And you're just an intern. You just came. You found us here. Who makes you think that the HR will believe you over us? Yes. I was like, wow. So this is a point where you're being told that it's women who want this, You're the ones who are putting yourselves out there. Like the way people talk about women is so different from what you would hear outside. To me, I felt like there's no respect for women at all. They would say, yeah, you're the one who put yourself here. And there's that kind of naivety that you have when maybe someone says, let me give you a ride. To me, I always tell people, don't. You'd rather walk. Because I knew that really, really late. It's not just because of me telling you, let me give you a ride to the gate or to the stage. It wasn't that. So if you're naive, you'd really land in a lot of problems. And sometimes they'll really treat you good because you're a lady. One person told me that for you to actually survive is for you to be a tomboy. Then you'll survive the men because now they'll not be coming for you in the aviation industry. You will have to be a tomboy. I remember I called one of my aunties and I asked her, my God, do I have to be a tomboy? And she was like, no, why should you be? Again, I still felt like I was crying every single day going back home. Because one, you're trying to prove yourself at work that you need a job. Two, you're going through sexual harassment. Three, you have to read and prove to people that everything is still stuck to your brain. And if you're asked a question, you need to know. Four, it's like you are in a competition with 10 other people. If you come at 8, someone came at 6. If you leave at 5, someone is leaving at 8. And I'm asking myself, what is happening? Is this the life that I want? I felt like it was too much pressure on me. Another thing, we didn't have changing halls for women, for ladies. We were changing in the same place that men were. So it's either you go to the toilet and change. And that's something that I was asking myself, why aren't there changing places for the ladies? And you'll be told maybe one of the offices or the toilet is okay for you. So I could notice some people are very comfortable in just changing. And I was like, yo. So for me, I felt like it kind of pulls you and you start being comfortable in some situations in which I really wasn't. And I used to ask myself questions every day. And I'm telling you, I used to really cry every single day I was going home. I was in that matatu. Remember, you're getting home at around 9, and you have to wake up the next day. I used to hate waking up to go to work. Every day I used to wake up, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you even going to? You don't love the space. You don't love your job. What's happening? And like I said, the sexual harassment, and no one would actually believe you. So I remember there's a time someone came to me working at the same place, and we were talking because I wanted to do my degree. I was just talking about the goals that I want to have. And this person was like, okay, I'm gonna teach you. He told me that you need to be close to someone, and he was giving me example. You see, that person is close to this person. This person is close to this person. You can always go around and they will teach you. So you can come. I can teach you. And I said, okay, cool. I was so happy. And then the next day during lunch, he says, yeah, why don't we go to my car? So I've heard of all these stories. I'm like, go to your car and do what? And I said, no, I don't want to go to your car. We can actually do it over here. And he said, why don't you want to go to the car? Come. And I said, no. Do you know, after that day, that guy never talked to me again. Yes. Never worked with me, was giving me attitude the whole time. Another thing is, how do you call it when maybe someone is sexual harassing you but verbally now? When you're going to hold a tool, someone comes and tells you, is that how you're going to hold my dick? Yes. And if you complain, you're being told, women, you guys are just emotional. Like, you can't even hold a joke. You can't even joke around. That's what I was being told most of the time. Or if they're explaining something like a hole with, when it has, maybe they're putting something in a hole, they'll tell you, is this how your hole feels like? Yes. So they would do that. And you can't talk to anyone. You're scared. If you start talking about this, you're not going to have your internship, or no one is going to call you back at work, because what they say is Wilson is very small. Your story will be known everywhere. And for me, I feel like sometimes people are just naive, sometimes people date, but then it's not you. Maybe you're the one who's dating, but the other person is really talking about you on the other side. So those were stories we were hearing. So and so did this, so and so did this. It was like, the way I'm telling you, the way they talk about ladies, it's so bad. And I used to ask even people in the office, is it the same? Because my friend has never gone through this. And when I was telling her about it, she was like, wait, what? And I was like, so this doesn't happen in the office? She said, I've never gone through this. And I said, yeah. Am I the only one who's talking about it? Because now you feel as if you're the only one who's speaking about it. And now you decide, you know what, maybe let me just keep quiet. Yes, this is the second time now I'm being forced again to shut down and not speak up. So I couldn't speak up. I couldn't tell it to anyone. you're in this point where someone would come hug you at work. And I kept asking myself, did I do a wrong thing? Or is it that people will say I was the one who wanted that? Imagine someone is hugging you, and the way they hug you, they're like, I remember actually one time someone came and they wanted to hug me. So I hugged them from the side. They told me, why are you hugging me on the side? I want to feel your boobs. We are at a workplace, by the way. So I said, I'm not doing that. And he told me, but your boobs are even small. Let me call some other lady who has some and let me show you. So he calls. So this other lady doesn't know what's happening. So he calls and then he hugs the lady. And you know what they say? They always say, like, I can feel it. Like in a Swahili word, like they'd say, oh my God, nasikia vizuri, and we are in a workplace, I used to hate that. So I used to hate hugging people. But when I told it to someone, he said, but you're the one who's going hugging people around, why are you complaining? And it's you. You are calling for it. That's what I was told. I was wearing the cargo pants, the cargo pants that you're wearing. You're calling for it. Why are you smiling at them? You're calling for it. Why are you laughing with them? You're calling for it. So it was always, when you're talking to someone, it was always me to blame. I'm the one who's calling for it. That was now in 2023. And I decided now, I was there and I was talking to someone that I really used to look up to. And I asked him, I want to do my degree, but people are telling me it won't help me. I want to do my license. And he told me, do it. I've done it. I'm going to do the same degree you're doing. Actually, to motivate you, let's apply together for a school. And he said, never listen to anyone, especially when you want to continue with your education. Most people are telling me it won't help me. So I said, okay. So I asked for permission from work and I told them that I'll be leaving exactly 5 because my classes that time was starting from 5. And I told them also I need to travel to Dubai to do my license. So I did. Traveled. That was around August 2023. When I was coming back, I think that was the time that there was flooding. If I've gotten the specific dates. Because I came back and we were being told, a friend of mine who was also an intern over there told me that you can't go back to work. We've been told to leave. I was like, okay. Because in the plane, I had sat next to someone who knew someone in Wilson. So I was like, maybe I'm going to get a job now. So I was introduced to the CEO and I put up the paperwork and I was told you can come for an interview. I went for the interview in Wilson and I was like, so sure I'm going to get this. At Dubai, I wasn't for a long time. It was just for 1 week. The exams are not, the exams are like 16 or 12. So you can do the exams as much as you want. If you want to do all 16 or 12 exams, you can do it. So for me, I wanted to do 2, in which I went and decided to do 4 because I wasn't ready for that. And it was also my first time leaving the country alone in Dubai. So I was so scared. But I actually managed. So when I came back, now I'm going to this interview. I knew I had aced it, but then I wasn't getting a call back. I was like, what is happening? I decided to call. I was told, oh, yeah, why don't you come back? Apparently, the HR said that I did not go for the interview. Yes. So I was called back. And when I was going back, I'm not sure whether it was I think it was 2023, the flood time. Because I remember it had really flooded that I couldn't really, I couldn't peter. I couldn't cross. I remember I sat there and I was like, Ella, what are you even doing? You want to go through all this flood just to get a job that the HR actually said they didn't even go for the first interview. And I said, I'm not doing this. So I went back home. And I was like, you know what? You had this organization, but you never did anything with it. And all these things that you've just gone through, why don't you try and help other women or ladies not to go through the same thing that you're going through? So I went back home. I didn't go for the interview and I just kept quiet. I didn't even call them. So I kind of just switched my mind into not going back to work at all. So I wasn't talking to anyone. I stopped talking to people. I didn't even want anyone to talk to me about going work, anything work related. I didn't want. I stayed there, and later on I got some organization that also they mentor young people. So that was the first time I emailed them. I was like, can I come for mentorship with my organization? And they said yes. So I called that friend of mine that I had told about. I told her they're going to Western. Let's go. So that was the first time I did an initiative with AWAM now, with the organization. But then when I was in that school, I was telling myself, what happens with these kids after we've just gone for like 3 days, we come back? Is it like, do they know what's next after we've introduced them to aviation? So I come back, I'm like, I need to do more with my organization. So I say, I need more of impact now than numbers. So I started looking for schools, the underrepresented schools that they don't have exposure to aviation, and I would take like 50 students and I form a club in the school and I would go there weekly. So I started going alone to the schools. Later on, I wanted a camera person because I needed quality videos. So I asked one of my friends, do you know anyone with a camera? I don't have money, but I will give them fare. So they said, yeah. So we started doing that and we started posting. So now at least we started gaining traction now. I started being active on LinkedIn. So I don't know when Avia Dev event was. I don't know the exact time. Was it 2023? I was online on LinkedIn and then I saw, I think 2022. Now, just adding up to where I'm at right now. There was a conference in South Africa, an aviation conference. Now you see I'm out of work, so I'm just looking for things to do, networks and all that. I was like, let me try and network with my organization. So you see a poster, they're looking for ambassadors for the conference. I knew it was South African residents only, but I was like, let me just apply. So I did apply. I did not get it, obviously, but fortunately, I was able to get in contact with the CEO of that organization, or rather company or conference. So I emailed him and he said when he comes to Kenya, he'll see me. That was the first time that I wanted to talk about AWAM. I still didn't have goals to it at all. So I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. But then I went, told him about it. He wanted to do a conference here again in Nairobi, that 2023. I had never gone into a conference before, especially the aviation conferences. I didn't even know that they existed because when you are in Wilson, you really just focus on getting your license, getting a job, getting employment, and getting money. I don't feel like there's always more to what people think. I don't know, but the people I've interacted with. So he comes, we start talking. I explained to him, and he said, why don't you just start with what you have or what you're thinking of? Just start. And I'll be here to support you. And from that is what built the great relationship we have with him till now with the organization. He's one of my biggest mentors and the biggest supporter for my organization. I decided to register now the organization in 2024. I was like, let me apply for grants. I used to ask people, can I apply for this grant? People would tell me, no, you're not ready. You can't do this. And I still feel like even when I was applying for scholarships, still people told me I wouldn't make it. And what I forgot to say when I was taking aeronautics, because I got a C plus in high school. So when I wanted to do aviation maintenance, someone told me, I know I won't mention names, but this is someone who was very close to me, and she told me, it's for A students. You're not gonna make it. It's for people who went to Alliance or Mangu or Kenya High. This is not for you. Straight to my face. And I said, okay. I remember I showed this person, and I don't know why I kept on going back to the same person, because I trusted her. I went to the same person asking about some scholarship, and they still told me, you won't manage to get this scholarship. It's not for you. And I still got it. When I wanted to do the organization, I went to the same person, and I was told, you're not ready, you're too young to manage an organization. But you know what? I still did it. Okay, so about this person, I still wouldn't understand why I went to her a lot. But I think it's what that was being fed to me was, you're like me. I was just like you when you're young. I was exactly like you. I was this and this and this. So I thought, oh my God, since I was like her, maybe she's the best person to actually go to. But again, I still felt like there was still a lot of negative. So as much as it was that negative, imagine even after getting those things, I would still run back to this person to say, I've gotten this. It's as if I wanted that to be seen, you're doing something. So I used to go back a lot. Now I registered the organization, and I sat down and I told myself, okay, I need to know why I'm doing this. And yes, I had to sit myself down. And remember, I told my grandma, I'm not going back to work. I am done. At first, she really didn't believe it. And yes, she really didn't believe it. And she was like, no, 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 no. You can't, these things happen. You'll eventually get something. But for me, I don't think she understood the things I went through at work and all the pressures that I was going through. I've not even mentioned half of all these things that I was going through at work. So from people spanking you at work and you can't say anything, you can't even get mad. I remember I slapped someone. Yes. I don't even remember the story now why I slapped this person, who later on came to apologize. Oh, yes. I slapped him because he was the one who said, when I went to complain to him, that that person with the hug, yes, and he told me that I was the one who lets it happen. Yes. And he said, you ladies who do this and this, So I slapped him because I was like, don't ever say that to me again. It wasn't really in front of people, but it was in front of one person there, in which the same person was telling me the same thing. So you see, it doesn't even help. So later on, he came to apologize and told me, I'm sorry for this and this and this. I don't know whether it was genuine or he just wanted to make it cool between us, but he apologized later. So see, these are things that people, or rather maybe my family, didn't know about, especially with the bullying at school. And then there's this one now. And I just felt like it was too much for me. And I said, I'm done. She really didn't take it well. And actually, she's one of the people who said I'm too young to actually run an organization. And I said, what will it hurt, Plus, I'm still staying home, so I didn't have bills to pay. It was very easy for me to continue that. So now we started going to the schools and all that. I applied for our first grant in which we were supported by one of the international companies. And I went back to my mentor, or the first supporter who really supported me in everything. And I told him, we've gotten this and this. I'd love you to actually be part of whatever we are doing, because I kept in contact with him and he did support it. Later on, I just said, I need a board, people to actually guide me in all these things that I'm doing. So now we sat down, chose people that we could have to be in my board in the organization. And I came to really have the best people who are also now one of my mentors in the aviation industry. All of them, actually, I could talk to them about anything, and they are really big supporters. Last year, one of my board members calls me, actually sends me a message, and he's like, would you love to speak in this? It was an ICAO aviation. ICAO is International Civil Aviation Organization, right? Yeah. Or if I'm not wrong, I don't know whether I've gotten that right. He told me, like, can you be able to speak in this? I said yes. I was really excited, but I was very nervous. I had never spoken in a big stage before. This was also my second time now traveling outside the country to South Africa. A very big event, a very big international organization. And I was like, okay, I've never even thought in my head that I'll ever even speak at events. And he paid for everything. We were sponsored by with two other people from here, and we went. I did my best. And that was the beginning of everything else in the aviation industry with my organization. So we started having international partners. But every single time I used to go back to my why, like, why am I doing this? Because I also didn't know that also running organizations is just problems again with people and other organizations and all that. So most of the time when I sit down with them, they always tell me, you have to go back to your why. Why did you start this? So many people have asked me to go back to work, Oh, Ella, right now you have networks. It's very easy for you to get a job. And I keep telling them it's not about the job. Yes, I could even apply if I wanted to, but it's about the space. And I kept telling them it's still the same. The same people are still in the same positions that I left them in. What makes you think that something has changed? The fact that maybe you're not experiencing what I experienced doesn't mean it's not happening. And I feel like most people don't know that all these things are happening, and people are scared to actually speak about it. Because I remember I was told that people are scared because will you get the next job? People don't want people who just talk and say this is a company that did this and this, So you'll get like resentment from people. And I feel like that's why people don't talk about what's happening in the aviation industry and in the maintenance side as much, because there's no lots of ladies. So you're working with a lot of men. And also these men don't really value women. They really talk the conversations are just bad. So that's something that sometimes I even get scared when we are mentoring these girls into this aviation industry. I'm always like, are they going to find the same industry that I was in? Are they still going to work for years before maybe getting a job? Or are they still going to be sexually harassed and not speak out the way I was quiet about it and had to leave? And nothing really happened, the people are still there. You'll get hit on if you say no, it's someone isn't talking to you again. You'd get smacked if you, spanked, not smacked. Yeah, if you speak out, you're the bad one. Someone will literally grab your ass. I'm not even talking about spanking, like grabbing you. And you can't speak about it. The person who will be told is bad is you, not the person who did it to you. It's you, actually. you as the victim, the perpetrators will just walk. So it was very difficult for me, especially that you can't talk to anyone. You're starting an organization where you're saying women are safe, or you want women to speak out. One of the conversations I had with someone in the aviation industry, and I said, can we talk? And I called this person, I don't know whether I called or texted, and they said, can we talk about this, whatever's happening in the industry? And this person told me, we can't talk about these things because it's these men that help us. And I said, huh? I said, yeah. Like, even you, it's the men who help you, right? So if we start talking about this, we're kind of putting them at a spot, and it will kind of bring some problems, And I was like, wow. So I never talked about it. So whatever we talked was just the normal mentorship things. So even with the sessions that we have, sessions in schools and also sessions for campus students and young professionals, that we try to give it out there and people can gain knowledge and all that. But now for the campus students and young professionals, even when I bring in speakers every single month. Everything for me is free. I don't charge for the services that I do to all these people, and they'll tell you I've never charged anyone. But I always want people to really speak about these things. But I feel like people are still scared to talk about some things, especially with this part. They can talk about work, how they're not getting money and all that, but no one is talking about what's really happening in these hangars. Hangar is where now the aircrafts are. No one is talking about what's happening in these spaces. No one is talking about what's happening to women in the industry. It's still the point where we're still in a point where when someone gets promoted, they'll say, yeah, it's because she did this and this. You'll hear it from people, not because of your brains or your work or whatever. So we're still in those positions still now, and people are not talking about it. So you'll find that people you'll just stay in your own cocoon and be quiet so that you can protect your space. Yes. And now getting back to AWAM, we've been able to get international partners where we're able to do some challenges that can take campus students outside the country, which of course we had a little bit problems with the visa, but it was sorted. And then now we have high school where we mentor them. So for me, it's not just going for a one-time thing, because I really wanted to have relationships with these kids and get to know at what point do you still need us. So we are in those schools weekly, and we literally tell them about aviation and the schools they're supposed to apply for and the marks they're supposed to do. So whenever they're in need, they can come to us. We'll be taking them to fly, hopefully. We take them to Wilson and all that. So the partners that have come later on in the years have really helped me build AWAM, and it has helped me also get to be known, at least outside Africa, with the work that I'm doing. And we're really pushing. It hasn't been easy as people think, because people just see the outside. They don't know the struggle that you have to put and the consistency. That's something that I've always told myself. Even if there's no money, I'll still go to those schools and I'll still give out my best and I'll still mentor them. And as much as doing that, I still want them, when they get to these spaces, it's also ready for them. Not that they get stuck at some point, because so many people are graduating. So you'll feel like you're graduating, you get to campus, you don't have fees. So we are there to at least help. From campus, we're there to at least help you get your internship, and then you can maybe help yourself, or whether there's a lot of, or maybe whether there's scholarships that you can apply for. So for me, I wanted it to be a chain, not just mentoring and leaving them at some point, because I was left at some point that I wouldn't really want someone to go through that. So I want to be there. And it's the reason that I'm really giving my all, because I don't want them to go through what I went through. Yes, so that's how I came to this journey of having the organization and doing what we're doing. Okay, so how did my family take all this? It wasn't easy at first. You know, when you're starting something and no one understands, that's a conversation that my dad used to talk about it a lot, telling me that family still doesn't understand what I'm doing. You know, my biological dad. For me, I was like, don't they want to understand or they don't understand? Because I've been telling them about everything that I'm doing. So I've just finished my degree in civil aviation management. Thank you. And I also finished my aeronautics, right? I've gotten a scholarship for masters that I'm supposed to start in September. Yes. And I had gotten 3 scholarships in the aviation industry. So, of course, everyone thought there's a path I'm going to take. I also knew that, to be honest. I knew, oh my God, yes, I'm going to get all these things and I'm going to be in the industry, maybe a CEO somewhere, you know, in some airline, or a base maintenance manager, like that. And like I said, they didn't understand. But later on, after I started gaining, you know, momentum and people started trusting me, started being called to events to speak. And so many people started trusting the work we are doing because of the consistency again. And also just what we were giving out. Now that's when people started trusting me and now understanding, oh, this is now what she's doing. But I still felt, and he knows it, my dad still kept pushing me into going back to work. Because, you know, if there's no money coming in, everyone is like, why are you doing this, you know? And I could still feel like people would want me, why don't you go back to work? Why don't you go back to work? Or are you going to leave everything that you've worked for just like that to be able to run this? Because whatever you've worked for actually builds to you being employed somewhere, right? Just as everyone goes for, yes. And right now that I've started doing all this traveling, having collaborations, I think that's where now people are now getting to the point that, oh yeah, now it's working. Now she's doing it. My stepdad has always been a supporter. It's just that after I came here, I think the communication wasn't a lot again. Yes, because now you're coming this side again. Now you're trying to start to have also a relationship with your dad. But I still used to talk to him, just not updates. Yes, my mom also updates not a lot. But my dad, my biological dad, I used to update him in almost everything. Yes, so, but I just felt like he really wasn't understanding. So right now, and I feel like I had to, till now, I still feel like I have to explain myself, which really pisses me off. Because I feel like I still have to explain to people that this is what I want to do. I feel like people want me to do something else. Like, why don't you go back to work like everyone else? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this, Ella? And I'm always like, why do people want me to do what they want? Because I've not complained to anyone that I don't like this. I really love what I'm doing. I love seeing the faces of those kids just being happy and getting them exposure. You know, people who have never even gone to the airport, just like I was back then, us giving them that and also just trying to help them move to the next point. Like I said, it's not about the numbers. I only worked with 30 to 50 kids in a school the whole year. Yes. So my other side, also my grandpa didn't take it well. So for him, he still thinks I should go and do something. Sometimes he calls me and he's like, if you were with me, you could have been abroad right now doing something or working. I think in the Kenyan, I don't know whether I should say this, but that perspective of you not having your own thing, I feel like I still have the parents or a family where they believe you being employed, is the best thing. I mean, us talking about, unajua, maybe she's working at some certain company in Wilson Airport, or she's an engineer. Every parent wants to say, my daughter is an engineer, or my daughter is a doctor, all those, the big four. So for me, I think I removed that from everyone else when they thought that's what they will be having. And then I decided to do this other thing. The only thing that maybe would make me feel bad is I still feel like people want me to be someone else. I've tried explaining to people this is what I want to do, but so many people keep asking me, oh, why don't you go back to work? Why don't you do this and this? Why don't you ask so-and-so to give you a job? I did not tell anyone that I needed a job. I'm actually okay where I'm at. And one of the people that I truly have a relationship with, she's really one also of my mentors. I told her, until the industry changes, until all those people are changed to other, or I don't know, because I don't think someone changes, to be honest, or maybe they do, but I just feel like until the industry changes, maybe I would consider, but I don't think I would. But the industry is still the same, with the same people, the same perpetrators. They're still there. Nothing is gonna change. I've talked to some people who are going through the same thing, and they said, oh my God, Ella, that happened to me. So the only thing I've never done is really talking about it publicly. I just talk to like some people and they tell me, how was your experience? And I don't lie, my experience was bad. My experience was really bad at Wilson. I'm glad that my family right now is getting to understand. But maybe when they hear this, they'll get to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I don't think I explained to them why I started this and why I'm doing this.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless.
What a powerful story, part 1 and part 2. And there's something she says towards the end of her story that I think captures the entire journey, if you ask me. People telling her that with the networks she has now, she could easily just go back and get a job in aviation. And her response is basically, it's not about whether I can get the job, it's about the space I would be returning to. But I would love to hear your takeaway from Ella's story, part 1 and part 2. Let me know in the comments wherever you're listening to this on. I love reading through your comments. Like, you guys are fam. You are fam. Thank you so much to Ella for trusting us with her story, all of it. And I would love to hear your story. If while listening to Ella, you feel like you want to share yours, in the show notes, there's a storyteller form. Fill it out and we will get back to you. As we wrap up, remember that season 6 of For Manless Women is officially underway. If you do not want to wait until Thursday when episode 1 goes on our audio platforms, you can head over to our YouTube channel and check it out. We'll have new episodes out every single Thursday. Yeah, but thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very end. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're part of the family. And we're really growing as a family. And so I'm so glad that you're here. And I truly believe that you have every single thing it takes to heal.
That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.